Good evening, good morning, and good night. Welcome to Inappropriate Radio. It's your host, Tashana. Let's get into this. Before we start, I want to apologize for yesterday. I know I sound a little scattered in my speech. I probably sound a little illiterate. I got a disturbing phone call, and what actually happened was I was in the midst of recording, and the podcast was still recording when I was on the phone, child. I thought I had stopped it, so I had to re-record. So by the time I had ended up recording, that was like my second time recording the topic. So not only was I distraught, I had to do the whole thing over. Alright, but new energy, new day, right? All that good stuff. Today we are going to be talking about cobalt. Okay, it is CO on the periodic table with the atomic number of 27. Okay, this is one of those elements that's rare. It is originally known as Cobalt, K-O-B-A-L-D, German root, interpreted or translated as goblin or evil spirit. Okay, this mineral is known as the blood diamond of batteries because it's been used to basically exploit the people of the Democratic of the Congo. Last year, they mined over 130,000 tons of cobalt, making them the leader in cobalt that's been mined. Parts of Russia and China, as well as Canada, also have an abundant amount of cobalt, but Africa in Glencore is known for its heavy production of cobalt. Now, this is where it started getting interesting, right? Not just the industries, but just knowing like how rare it is. Okay, so first and foremost, it's in B12, right? So when you look at the vitamin B12, cobalt is in it, and it also assists with the production of red blood cells. However, cobalt does not exist on Earth. It's in a pure form. Okay, it's only found in Earth's crust combined forms, right? It's usually a byproduct of nickel and copper, and it is rare, right? What is found in the Earth's core is rare, and it's also rare in meteorites, and it has a frequency, right, in the Earth's crust. It actually ranks as the 30th as far as the list of frequencies ordered, right? And it has a percentage of 0.004 as far as the amount or percentage that is in the Earth's crust. Now, it is corrosion resistant. It has a melting point of 2,723 degrees, a boiling point of 5,198 degrees, and it is a solid at room temperature of 70 degrees in the form of crystal. The higher the temperature, it will begin to be transitioned into liquid form. Now, yesterday we talked about iron, right? This cobalt, like iron, is found on red giants, right? Which is a star. Basically, a red giant is a star that is losing its hydrogen, right? And it starts to burn the helium, forcing it to turn red. This is where things started to get interesting because in about 5 billion years or so, it's projected for the sun to become a red giant as well, okay? These red giants have a combination of cobalt, and iron, or copper and iron, okay? And then when you start to get to the ones that have cobalt and iron, they can be split into two as well, categorized as a normal abundantly cobalt or iron star, or a small excess, okay? The small excess ones basically are older and are less massive, okay? But this is when I started saying, okay, something's crazy, okay? The body does not produce this, okay? Obviously, if it's rare, the body probably doesn't produce it. But it is essential in just trace amounts. It can replace, manganese, not to be confused with magnesium, okay? It can activate the enzymes, all right? It can complete the same job as manganese and zinc as well, all right? So I thought that was really important. It's not toxic until you've been exposed to, a really high amount over a long period of time. It can affect your eyes, your ears, your liver, your kidney, cause hypothyroidism, and a bunch of other different complications, peripheral neuropathy, polycythemia, a few other things, all right? It's really found in the air, but it is found in the air through man-made pollutions, through vehicular exhaust, incinerators, coal power plants, and other industrial activities, okay? It's also related to toxic dumping. So before we move on, I thought it was important that we focus on how this is considered to be the blood diamond of batteries, right? Because this is used for batteries, especially rechargeable batteries, but the demand for cobalt has increased over the last few years, which has increased habitat destruction, pollution, violation of minors' rights, including child labor laws. And of course, we know that these places are usually places that have lax laws and don't really move to protect workers. And if you have money and power and access, you can pretty much do whatever it is that you want. You have to follow the laws, right? If you're exposed to too much, it'll give you asthma-like symptoms, right? It affects the lungs, okay? It's also used to make airbags. It's a catalyst for petroleum and chemical production, also used to make diamond tools, but it's most popular for creating an intense blue in glass and paint, okay? It can also be found in sulfur, and it's a catalyst to remove nitrous oxide, okay? Crude and other crude oils from because I was trying to read, but yeah. Now, this is when I started saying, okay, this is interesting. This particular mineral is the only mineral or element, I should say, that can activate all of your chakras at once, okay? And it also is used to enhance the vibration of other quartz minerals, okay? So that's really important. So you might want to get you some cobalt, also known as cobalt blue in the spiritual world, okay? So if you wanted to go to a frequency store or one of those metaphysics stores, you'll be able to find it better if you use the word blue, okay? Cobalt blue, it's associated with blue, the color blue, okay? It heals the aura, it lifts mood, encourages inner peace, it stimulates the third eye, it represents enlightenment, dispels negativity, and encourages recognition of the spirit world, okay? It's corrosion resistant, and it is the longest living artificial isotope production agent. Okay, so they sometimes create artificial isotopes. You know, they're in a laboratory playing around. Cobalt produced the longest living isotope. I think it was like a little over 5 years. Okay, that's important because a lot of these isotopes only last for a few minutes, sometimes just seconds. Okay, so for this thing to be found only you know, in the galaxy, in the atmosphere of these red giants, and it's only found on the red giant. This is a dying star, and it's not like a byproduct or anything. It's just there. These are the atmospheres or the environments where this particular element is found, whether it's in abundance or it's just trace amounts or like regular normal amount. Okay, so this is one of those elements that I would say is really important to pay attention to. You might want to be able to get your hands on and just learn a little bit more about. Okay, if you want to take it in your diet, you want to increase the amount of fish you eat, nuts, and really basically like cruciferous greens. Okay, like broccoli and spinach and grains. Okay, when I started thinking about the spiritual aspect of it all, and I started realizing that basically a lot of the electric cars are in dire need of this element, it makes sense why there's such a fight around so many of the different companies that are creating these batteries and the other parts, because it's not just cobalt. Okay, it's copper and nickel as well. It's a lot of the minerals that are being sought and mined after for the production and the insistence in building electrical cars. And because we're in this time, right, we are in this age where electrical cars are becoming more popular, it would make sense, you know, for us to see the unseen side, if that makes sense, of the production or the mining. It started to, you know, really dawn on me and make sense why the creator is raising such hell with the people who are behind these companies, because this is exploitation, this is slavery, and just like a lot of other elements, these elements are found in places where the government doesn't have strict mining or labor laws, and it's in places where the people have a history of already being exploited, whether it's by another country or just a person who's a rich guy, okay, or a rich family, or however it goes. Okay, but I think this is one of those really important elements that I'm going to encourage you to learn as much about. It's a transition metal. Okay, so that means it's also a conductor of heat and electricity. Okay, so even if you could get you like some cobalt blue, you might want to hold on to it and keep in mind how this red giant star is defined. Now you have a red giant and then a red supergiant. Okay, both of them are pretty much the same thing, but what happens is after the fusion, a lot of different things take place. You can look into that, because I don't want to go into that because it's kind of stepping away from, you know, the overall topic. And it's also kind of like shining a light on some things that I don't even want to go into. But yeah, you can do the research on the red giant and the red supergiant. They're stars, okay? And these are like the main places where you're going to find cobalt, other than rocks and things like that. It's also found in the air in trace amounts. You know, we've discussed that in the water naturally, right? But not in its purest form. Alright, but I'm going to end it here. I do love you guys. I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. I hope you drink your water, eat your fruit and your vegetables, and sip on your own tea, because it is free. And I hope you stay sucker free. Alright, love y'all.